Larson.
Yeah, he did not win.
Yeah, he had a kind of already spoke on it just a bit, but crashed at Indy. Ran what, 250 miles maybe, almost made it halfway.
Yeah,
Like 220 miles. Then ran.
I think he made about 300.
Because 100 laps would be.
Oh yeah, he wrecked
250.
right before the lap 100 mark. Yeah, right.
So he wrecked right before lap 100, almost made it to halfway, took himself out, and then jumps in the car at Charlotte and leads the first lap, dominates the first run of that race, and then
Well, he led the first lap, but Byron passed him and Briscoe,
and then he got him back.
He had to get William back.
Yeah.
So halfway through the run,
and then led for the rest of that run, and then was leading again and
hit the wall,
bounced it off the wall,
yeah.
and didn't wreck, but it was good. And then
he hit it pretty hard though.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he knocked Tolink out at that point, and then coming 3 to go in the stage, somewhere in there.
No. He wrecked before the first run of green flag pit stops. It was during start of it. Because Blaney was on pit road and all of them
That's
were
right.
starting to get on pit road.
Green flag pit stops were coming, and
I think he wrecked lap 43 or so.
Yeah, that's right. So spun himself off after 4 and, got caught in the back and was running back there for pretty much the rest of the race. Had got his lap back. They'd worked on the car. I don't think he was ever going to be competitive for the win anymore, but I think his car was going to be good enough to get a top 20 out of it maybe. And the wreck happened that took out your boy, Blaney. Took out the 99, and it took out the 5. It was kind of the 99's fault. I know you're going to blame Suarez more than the other guys, but, I think it was more of just a racing deal. You're 3 wide coming off the corner. That shit happens. Blaney's at the top. Briscoe's in the middle. 99's coming up off the bottom. 99 did come up a little bit into Briscoe. I don't think Blaney was all the way at the wall.
That's fair.
I do think he came down just a bit. Now, I'm not saying that it's Blaney's fault, but I think it was, 3 or 4 specific circumstances that caused this wreck. And, it took out Blaney, and, Blaney got spun across the infield and hit Byron. I think it was Blaney.
No, that was
it the 99 that got
Suarez,
him?
Yeah, Blaney just stayed against the wall.
That's right.
Car broke.
99 got turned down into the infield, and Byron was trying to cut through and just didn't make it. And
Larson
was trying to cut through and just didn't make it. But, just a disappointing, end to a disappointing day, especially when you look at the Indy 500 last year, rain delay and Larson running in the top 10, top 5 all day, and then, speeds on pit road, and then we don't really ever – he led some laps after that because of fuel strategy, but, never really saw him competitive again at the IndyCar race. And then as soon as he gets to Charlotte to jump in the car, rains come, and we think we're going to get back in the car, and then they don't. And so he never got to race Charlotte last year. So going back this year, you're thinking, well, with a year of experience,
it can't go worse.
Yeah, with a year of experience, the IndyCar race might go better for him. And then, as long as there's not too many delays, he should be able to race all 600 at the 600. And he was definitely going to be able to after he wrecked. Was probably going to have a competitive car and was probably going to have a chance to win the race, and took himself out. There's no other way to say it. Running the fence with a decent enough lead, no reason to push there early in the race, puts it in the fence, and then laps later spins himself out. It's disappointing because you posed the question to me early in the month. Can this be a historic month of May for Larson? And I answered it could be. And it was historically disappointing. He was
not what I was referring to.
Yeah, neither of the races went well for him, and didn't even get to complete all 1,100 miles, which I think is the goal when you do this. Obviously, you want to win, but
Tony Stewart is still the only person to do it.
Yeah,
history.
Just disappointing because he's better than that, and I know all the IndyCar guys are probably over there talking shit because
And the F1 Max Verstappen fanboys.
That crowd's probably talking junk about Larson right now, but it's just disappointing because he can do better than that. I'd like to see him do it again, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen anytime soon. So it's just disappointing.
Yeah, I obviously kind of hyped this whole month of May up for Larson. I think more than NASCAR did. I was really expecting big things out of Kyle Larson in this month. We started off with a bang at Kansas, went in there and dominating there, and I started thinking, man, he could have the greatest stretch run in racing history if he can. And I admit the All-Star race last weekend was kind of a cherry on top. He didn't have to win that race, but obviously that didn't go well.
He was bad.
He wasn't bad. He got up to the top 5, and then he hit the wall and broke right when the Michael Waltrip caution happened. So that didn't go the way he wanted to. But I was like, okay, still, if he he does well in the Indy 500, wins the Coke 600, he'll still go down as one of the greatest racing stretches in history. And Indy, he just kind of was never a factor. I know the track was treacherous. It was a lot cooler than it had been most of the month there because of the rain and the overcast. So it got a lot of these drivers, caught off guard. Just ask fucking Scott McLaughlin on the pace lap. So, I don't really blame him for not really being competitive at the beginning, but you would like to see him, and he was starting to make his way up through the field and kind of show what he had.
He made a mistake on pit road.
He stalled the car on pit road the first
sent him
time.
back to the back again, and he
Which
probably
was
had to be
near the back anyway.
Yeah, but it sent him further back, and he had to be more aggressive than he probably should have been, and that's probably what led to his wreck.
Yeah. So, but when you started seeing him actually trying, had one good move into one, and then going into two, he busts his ass and just kind of loses it, downshifts when he shouldn't have, and wrecks. And you're like, okay, well, he'll definitely be able to make the 600 now, so you can put all those skeptics to bed, especially when you had a 45-minute delay to start the race, which was kind of getting there very tricky there on time constraints. And then he goes to Charlotte, starts on the outside front row, leads the first lap, eventually gets the lead, and kind of pulls away, but he hits the wall while leading, and you're like, all right. It's like, it's pretty big damage. They're going to come down pit road, and they might have to fix, work on his car a little bit. And then he spins it out before you can get to that point. So, and then you're like, oh, man, and I said right there in the underbody, even though it was turf at Charlotte, I said, it's probably going to affect his car a little bit. And it did. He was really bad. The only time I saw him be really fast after that was the end of stage 2, because he was the first car lap down. That's when Brad fell off a fucking cliff. It might have been into stage 3. Stage 2 or stage 3. I can't remember. I think it was stage 2. And he was able to get the lucky dog because he was right there with Byron, passing all those lap cars with Brad and all the other guys that got a lap down. So he was fast then, and then ultimately that wreck happened near the beginning of stage 3 with Blaney and stuff like that. So, and that wreck really wasn't his fault, but you put yourself in position earlier in the race with all the problems you had for you to be involved in something like that. So took him out, and that sucked because I wanted him to at least complete one full race, and he didn't do either one. He did about 600 miles, I think, evened out to be, instead of the 1,100 that everybody was hoping for. And I think Eric Eastep mentioned it. Even when the rains, when the race got delayed at Indy, and you show the end car of Kyle Larson,
you could see it.
You could just kind of see him like, fuck, man, this just ain't meant to be. Like, he just kind of looked dejected. And, a lot of the biggest strengths that Kyle Larson has, from what we've heard from him and kind of how he races it, confidence. He just he wrecks one race, the next race he'll go right there and just drive it like he's won 5 in a row. Confidence. He never lacks confidence. He never is afraid of anything. He never gets too up on himself or too down on himself most of the time, especially in his later career. Earlier in his career, he would have some of those moments in NASCAR, but older version, he just moved on to the next one. All right, we're fine. And it just you could tell in his face on Ender, he just wasn't the same Kyle Larson that we were expecting. After the wreck, you can just see him like, well, I just can't catch a break with this. And then he goes to Charlotte, and even in his pre-race interview, he's like, yeah, it's disappointing. I'm sure we'll be fast tonight. And it's kind of like he's like, whatever. You know, it might, it'll probably be fine, but I'm still upset with myself with Indy and how all this played out. And it didn't. This team deserves all 1,100 miles to be ran, and I screwed that up. And then after he wrecks, he's like, this sucks. He says, I want to move on. So I think he needs to take a year off. And that's my next question to you. Will he race the double next year or any other year? I think he will take next year off. I think he needs to just focus on the NASCAR side for the Coke 600 next year, because it is a very important race. It's one of our crown jewel races, and I feel like the way the past 2 years have gone for Kyle, he just needs to focus on the NASCAR side and just not have to worry about the IndyCar side. And I know he wants to try it again. I guarantee you Kyle Larson will try it again. I just don't think it'll be next year. I think he needs to wait a year or two, let that stuff breathe, let the hype kind of dwell down off of it. He didn't make it. All these IndyCar and Formula One fans are talking shit about him and how he's only a good NASCAR driver and dirt driver. Let that all calm down, get refocused, try to win a championship or two in NASCAR again, and then go out in 2027, 28, 29 and try it again. And I think he will definitely be better the next time he does it. But you can't wait too late, because Larson, I'm not saying he's out of his prime, because he's still clearly in his prime, but your prime only lasts certain years, and he's in it. He's in the middle of it. You don't want to wait too long to try it again, and where you don't have your fastball anymore.
Yeah, I think if it was up to Larson, he'd run it again next year, but I don't think it is. And number one, the contract for Arrow McLaren was 2 years, so that's run out. He doesn't have a contract to run it next year. And I think the bigger question is he going to have the blessing from Hendrick to do it again? And if you're Hendrick, last year you didn't get to run in the Coke 600 because you were doing the Indy 500 and it got delayed. You didn't get there in time. This year you wreck in the Indy 500, you come back and you wreck in the 600. If I own the team, am I sitting there saying, this Indy 500 shit is a distraction? You're not fulfilling your obligations to the 5 car. Am I going to pay, because Hendrick is paying for him to run that Indy car. HendrickCars.com's on it. It's a collaboration between him and Arrow McLaren to get that car on the track. Am I going to do that knowing that the more important thing, which is the Coke 600, is being neglected? And I think that was part of it in the 600, was that the confidence was shaken from Indy. He was angry, and sometimes that works. And Larson's already kind of prone to wrecking when he shouldn't because of just how he drives. And now you double that with everything that went on in Indy. If I'm Mr. H, I don't think I'm gonna give you the go-ahead anytime soon. So I don't know. I don't know if we'll see him back in an IndyCar anytime soon. If Mr. H is the one that's footing the bill, I can't see it ever getting the okay again, just because I don't think it's worth it to him anymore. So would I like to see it? Yes, I'd like to see him run it every year, because I think he can do it. But I don't think he's ever going to get the go-ahead again.